Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we'll be reviewing a movie called The Storm Riders, which was released in 1998, I think.
Now, this was a Hong Kong wuxia fantasy film based on the Manhua series Feng Wan by artist Ma Wing-shing.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah, a Japanese manga.
Anyway, pretty much, wuxia is a martial arts type movie, so it's a martial arts fantasy film. So there you go then. Right, here we go, all the good crap. Okay. Produced by Manfred Wong, directed by Andrew Lau, screenplay by Manfred Wong and Chow Ting. I'm getting them down pretty good, aren't I? Now, I was going to mention it later. I think it is available. Now, I think most copies are in Chinese with English subtitles, but you might be able to score an English dubbed version if you're lucky. Okay?
Yeah.
From what I've seen, the English dubbed version that we've got has a couple of scenes missing in it. So you'd be better off going for the Chinese language one. Chinese version. That's the language. Chinese version with the subtitles, if you don't mind reading subs, because you'll get a better product. Okay. Now, having said that, the budget for this was $11 million US when they made it, but only boxed off at $5 million. Obviously, it would have been a local sort of movie in Hong Kong and China and whatever. At that point in time, it probably didn't go global. However, what?
Just looking at something, old man.
What?
Nothing. Go on.
Okay, fine. So chances are it's done a bit more on home media since then as well. So because it may not have got out of the country, but there's a lot of Chinese-speaking people around the world who may have eventually bought copies, etc., or streamed it or whatever. So. Here we go.
Yeah, aside from this one, there's a sequel called The Storm Warriors.
Yeah, that was done in 2009, I believe.
Yeah, and they made an animated version of the, it's two, I don't know, I haven't seen it either, but it's not in English, obviously.
Well.
Sadly enough.
There you go then.
It doesn't matter, I guess not at this point, because from what we've seen so far, we watched both English dub one and the Japanese one.
We took a chance of watching both of them to compare them,
Yes, and the Japanese one included all the extended... the Chinese one had the all extended scenes. That's the thing, Mike. These actors, they look like they're Japanese because of their eyes. Their eyes are a different shape to the Chinese. I've noticed that about Chinese people.
Okay,
fine. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It could be a bit of crossbreeding. Okay, Hong Kong is its own area, but they speak Chinese. Okay?
Anyway,
right?
Who directs, screenwrites? They star.
All those guys.
What about starring?
Starring. I'm glad you asked.
Yes.
Unlike other Asian countries, all these people have English first names, which makes it a lot easier. Because in Hong Kong, it was under English rule for quite some time. I don't know if it still is. And they did have anglicised first names. So here we go. Aaron Kwok plays Striding Cloud. Ekin Chung plays Whispering Wind. Sonny Chiba. I've seen his name around in other movies, martial art type movies.
I think I've seen his face
like
too,
Jackie
Mike.
Chan type movies and whatever and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen him in a number of movies too, Mike.
He plays Lord Conqueror. He's a nasty guy in this piece. Christy Yang plays Charity. That's their what do you call them?
Love interest.
Well, love interest, but sort of family, because she's the daughter of Lord Conqueror, and Lord Conqueror takes Striding Cloud and Whispering Wind into his home to raise his own boys, but not actually family, but the sort of family.
Yeah, you'll soon see when I tell the story, guys.
Anyway, here we go. Michael C. plays Frost. He's another one of their little martial arts guys here. I won't go too many here. I'll skip through a couple. Roy Chung plays a Shaolin monk. There's a guy called Wayne Lai plays Mud Buddha.
Yeah.
And a weird guy called Lawrence Chung plays Jester. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, because most of these people, aside from the story focusing on the ones we've already mentioned, the ones we mentioned at the beginning, they're the ones that most of the time we focus on throughout this production. The other people are just one-offs, and they don't play. I mean, of course, they do play a bit of a role in the production here and there. Like Mud Buddha is a prophet. Don't get me wrong; he's not the Buddha we all know and hear about in stories.
Will you stop doing this, please?
I'm just telling you, Mike, that
they've all Mud Buddha means they're a monk related to the Buddha faith. Okay.
Yeah. So he was sort of a prophet, like any ordinary prophet who predicts the future. And stuff like that.
Anyway, what else?
And of course, just like a lot of Chinese and Japanese related movies and anime, this one deals with martial arts and magic. Yeah, and how martial arts is related to magic.
In their stories anyway.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's what they often do most. I mean,
in these movies.
If you watch Monkey Magic, you know what I'm talking about. In that one, you'd see that every so often people would channel their chi or Chinese or the Chinese term,
whatever,
and use that as a bit of a strength against their opponent and conjure up magic, like Mortal Kombat wise.
Okay.
I guess
there you go. Find your inner animal sort of stuff.
Yeah,
is it?
or inner chi.
Yeah.
I think chi means strength.
Whatever.
In some cultures.
Probably. Okay, I think I'll let you run with this now. I don't think there's anything else I can say before we open it.
Take it from someone who knows a little bit of martial arts. I heard about the inner chi.
I'm sitting next to a brown belt.
A retired brown belt.
Retired brown belt. Yes, she did these several years. She was a state champion as well, weren't you? Yes, you were. There'll be quite a few trophies there and stuff. She did very, very well.
And I learned little things from a number of opponents. And I even entered the black belt division, and even though I didn't win,
that was an open all styles.
Yeah,
or
and even if I didn't win or not, the judges were impressed with my performance, and they gave me a trophy because of my courage and my enthusiasm. She
has the heart of a lion, has it?
So it was a nice gesture that day.
You worked very, very hard, didn't you?
Yes. So anyway, I'll get into the story. Now, the story is the Lord Conqueror. He's the main focus of the story. He is concerned about a duel that he's going to do with another martial artist named Sword Saint, who he fought and lost, and he wishes to duel again. Of course, he is concerned about the future, so he calls upon Mud Buddha, a prophet, to help him work out the outcome of that, duel. So he calls upon him, and he comes to visit and tells him that while Conqueror's martial arts skills are great, Sword Saint's is even better, and there's a big chance that this duel will probably not happen until 10 years.
No, that was it. It's going to be 10 years' time they're going to meet up for a duel. See, I don't know why 10 years?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then Mud Buddha suggests you also have to find 2 likely allies to assist you in your 10 years of reign.
Well, it's supposed to be good fortune. The prophet said, the prophecy translated that if Conqueror finds 2 young children by the name of Wind and Cloud, he will have good fortune.
Yes.
So he finds these 2 little kiddies.
Yes, and
kills the parents.
Before we get to that, also Mud Buddha gives him a special puzzle box. I think it's called what's it called? He called it mystic a magic box thing. What was it called?
Well, I don't know what it was called. It's called a puzzle box.
Oh yeah, a puzzle box.
But it makes Rubik's Cube look really easy.
Yeah, and Mud Buddha wants Conjurer to work out the equation so the rest of the message to the prophecy with Wind and Cloud would be predicted, because he's keeping that part of the second half of the riddle or the prophecy a secret. Yeah. We don't know why. I think Mud Buddha knows this reason, and he thinks a little bit of 10 years' times would at least give us a little bit more time to work it out. So, anyway, the word gets out to the public that they're looking for 2 new disciples for Lord Conqueror's clan. Bear in mind, they train children really young, just so you guys know. They kidnap children, train them, and become conquerors or the clan's army, whatever. It's an ongoing thing, which I disapprove of, and it still goes on today when I think about it, in some cultures. Anyway, so they, of course, one of the Cloud I mentioned, he belongs to his clan, who are a bunch of metal workers, or what they call sword makers and stuff. And his father doesn't want him to join up, so he thinks he should hide him away. Meanwhile, Win's dad, his name's Whispering Prince. That's just so you guys know. Everyone's first surname is often mentioned first, so you guys know. So he's offered to go to do a duel because his wife was taken away, and after 2 years he comes back to do the duel again because as it turns out it's Conqueror in disguise, and he wants him to bring him the blazing sword because it belongs to Whispering Prince, and he wants it because Conqueror, aside from being a professional martial artist, desires most powerful swords that will play a big part to this production.
Gimme, I want.
So he comes to the dueling place. He brings his son, and he does find out his wife left him for Conqueror, and Conqueror even admits to him and to her that he only wanted her for her body, not for love.
Well, no, he wanted it to provoke him.
Yes.
Yeah, not yet. Yes. If he had her, it might enrage him enough to challenge him. Actually, his sword was called the Blizzard Blade.
Oh, yeah, Blizzard Blade. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, they duel, and they are in a special place called the... I don't know what it's called. The special temple or that belongs... That dwells a creature that guards the special fruit that allows you, and it guards the special fruit that kind of looks like makes you heal better and makes your chi stronger. So they thought he gets eaten by the creature or burns to death, and
all the above,
and his son gets raised by Conqueror, and
because the prophecy said he had the right name.
Cloud's father and his family get murdered, and he is taken away, of course. And I think deep down we know he's not in the dark about what happened. Like
now, Cloud's father was making a sword called the Ultimate Sword.
Yeah, what an awesome name, Ultimate Sword.
It
sounds better in Chinese.
And he said before he died, the only way you can use a sword is by using my blood with or something rather.
Yeah. Anyway, both boys are taken away, and the sword, the Ultimate Sword, is in hidden way, so we don't know where it becomes of it.
Well, we don't know where it went to, and even Conqueror had no idea where it ended up, but it shows up later in the movie.
Soon enough, the boys are brought to Conqueror's clan, and of course they meet Charity. Yeah, that's her, his daughter, and they begin the 10-year of living and training with Conqueror. Of course, they become his heirs. Yeah, all three of the boys. I mean, I should mention Frost.
Heirs, but he raised them as his sons.
Yeah. Yes, I should mention Frost was among them. He's sort of a bit older than them. I think
a couple of years older.
Years older.
I don't know where he comes into it, though.
Yeah. Anyway, so they all three become a very powerful elite. I mean, trinity of sorts. Yeah. So anyway, after 10 years, Cloud becomes a sort of strong but very distant warrior who's a bit more serious and a bit. What's the word did they describe him? He's a bit.
You couldn't control him. Or,
he's disobedient or not disobedient.
He's a free spirit.
He's a free spirit.
It's hard to control him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Wind is a bit of. He's been sensitive and nice guy.
A nicer, gentle, and more controllable individual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A good employee.
Yeah. Of course, it's pretty clear that all three, both Wind and Cloud, they both love Charity a lot. Like, as in, they love her really much for different reasons or another.
Well, no, they grew up as children and they had a very strong bond with her. And of course, they weren't actually blood related. So, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more.
Yeah, soon enough, Conqueror gets fed up of solving this puzzle box, and he feels like his message is not going to get any better. So he gets...
Mud Buddha disappeared 10 years ago.
He wants Wind and Frost to go out and find Mud Buddha. Of course, the Jester offers them some advice and tells them, in order to find Mud Buddha, you must find the fire monkey. A monkey that's sort of the Shaolin monks sort of possess.
Possess him, look after him, whatever,
Yeah. And Conqueror sends Cloud on a different mission. He is told to go to Unchallenged City to get a special sword and from their new allies. And Conqueror, aside from the sword, Conqueror wants or desires the head of the guy in charge of that particular village.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Unchallenged Sword.
Yeah. Pretty cool, huh? Where do you get these awesome names?
Someone was on drugs or... Sorry.
Anyway, so Charity wants to step up to the plate and accompany one of the men on their mission. She kind of, pats... Cloud's hands affectionately, unnoticed by her father, and says, I won't go with you because I don't want to go off and get killed. So she tells Wind that she will go with him, of course.
Nice.
I think her dad, off-screen, talks her out of it. I don't know, I could be wrong. Because we don't see her later on.
She doesn't go there fighting side by side with the guys.
Yeah, then later that night, Cloud confronts Wind about them, that Charity and Wind were in the Sword Grave, a sort of secret but not allowed area of
sanctuary where the Lord Conqueror can sit and contemplate. There's all these swords hanging around. Yeah, a little bit like Game of Thrones and stuff.
It looks like a graveyard, which is probably why it's called the Sword Grave.
Yeah, all the swords are there. Stuck in the ground, all standing up.
A little bit like those gravestones you see in grave sites, which makes me think. Anyway, so Cloud confronts Wind about going to this area, and they said yes. He said yes, I did, but don't tell Lord Conqueror or anything. He then heads off. He's very a moody kind of guy. He doesn't talk, and Cloud doesn't talk very much. He's not the chitty-chatty type. So later that night, he goes to Charity's room and he seduces her.
Does he? What? Sorry, you don't see it, but it's all implied. But you see the beginning of it, where they get in a passion embrace and all the other good groovy stuff.
We cross over to the next morning. Wind and Frost, they do eventually find the fire monkey, along with the monk who was trying to take it back to the temple, which belongs to the Shaolin monks. You may have heard of the Shaolin monks, obviously. They're well known over there.
In Kung Fu, that show, wasn't they the Shaolin monks who trained
they're Shaolin monks. I mean, it's a well-known group of monks up there. So,
all over the place,
Anyway, so... of course, the soldiers chasing after this monk who desire the fire monkey in order to find Mud Buddha too, because they want him to attend the banquet to the unchallenged city guys so they can sort of bless their leader for having a good birthday and hope for him to have 1,000 more years to live, which I doubt.
But 1,000 more seconds to live the way things went.
Of course. Wind and Frost arrive, and they tell them that they want the fire monkey so they can find Mud Buddha, so they can take him to Lord Conqueror. Of course, during the excitement, the monk refuses to hand over the fire monkey because it does not belong.
It belongs to the temple.
Yes, and he refuses to relinquish and give it to them. So Wind kind of uses his powers and get him to be pushed down to the ground. But while this is happening, the monkey gets captured by the said soldiers. These said soldiers are supposedly going to have a treaty with Conqueror's clan, but unfortunately, Wind and Frost don't want to do anything about them. They do not want to help them in their mission. So they end up taking the monkey, and the monk chases after them. While Wind and Frost found out that there was an old man at the time when this happened, and that was at the vicinity with his granddaughter, and we realized that Frost works out that this is not an ordinary old man.
This is Mud Buddha
in disguise.
They didn't need
he has a
the monkey.
special power of creating disguises. Aside
the man
from
of 1,000 faces.
Aside for predicting the future, this is his other power, I guess. Anyway, he has these boils and sores over his face, which he says that the gods are punishing him because he has been predicting too many future.
He gave too much information away.
Yeah, and so God is punishing him for this. So he wants the fire monkey to kind of remove these pains from his body.
He said the fire monkey needs a fire monkey because he can suck the poison out of the boils.
And so he won't feel.
I hope it's organic.
So he accompanies the two men back to Lord Conqueror's place, or halfway, and he tells them to find a possible foster family for his granddaughter.
Yes,
because she's only say 10 or 12, and she doesn't have her parents with her anymore.
Yeah, they got killed or something. So anyway...
And he suspects that something bad is going to happen on their way to Lord Conqueror's place. So when they do find a respectable family for them, for his granddaughter, some mysterious stranger arrives and takes Mud Buddha away.
Spirits him away in a round balloony... bubble thing,
like his. Anyway, while this is happening, at the Unchallenged City, they're having a really good
swinging time,
banquet, and late that night, Cloud and his minions, they kill him, take his head, and the sword, and kill anyone else that's still alive in Unchallenged City. The soldiers that were. And along with the Unchallenged City's son, King's son, the owner, the man in charge's son arrive, and they're upset that all their people are killed. Of course, the monk arrives and says he'll promise to help them to look for the murderers who are responsible.
Exactly.
Anyway, so back to Lord Conqueror's palace. As it turns out, Lord Conqueror, in disguise, did kidnap Mud Buddha. While the his two Frost and Wind under Frost and Wing's nose, technically. So he does get him to solve the equation.
I wonder whether the guy who actually came there in disguise, who stole Mud Buddha, was actually Lord Conqueror.
It is.
Because it didn't actually say, I don't think, but
he was much more powerful than them, and he knew exactly their fighting ability and their weaknesses.
Yeah, so I think it was him in disguise.
Anyway, so Mud Buddha solves the equation in the box, and soon enough we get the rest of the prophecy to Wind and Cloud. Turns out that Wind and Cloud will make Lord Conqueror, as in make him prosper for so many years, but the second half says they will break Lord Conqueror.
Yeah, Wind and Cloud.
Meaning they will rise and kind of try to kick his butt all of a sudden.
And more.
Meaning, but Lord Conqueror laughs and scoffs and says, now that he knows this, he scoffs at the
Scoff.
at the possible thing that will happen. Anyway, soon enough, Cloud returns with the unchallenged sword, and Lord Conqueror is really pleased and says he's really happy that he's got the sword, and soon enough he'll be able to, once Sword Saint finds out his brother has been murdered, because this is the unchallenged city's guy in charge was sort of Sword Saint's brother, I think, and it'll give him a reason to duel in revenge for what happened. So, anyway, before he can continue on, Charity appears and says, welcomes Cloud back to the womb, or back to the clan, and she asks him for some colorful stones. She's been collecting them just so because that's her favorite thing, and she tells her father this, and Conqueror looks at him, and he can see in that scene that he suspects that Cloud and Charity have something going on behind the scenes. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Well, no, let's not say more. Anyway, Jester arrives and tells Conqueror that Wind and Frost are outside, but refuse to come inside because they feel ashamed and a little bit upset that they didn't achieve their mission. Anyway, Conqueror tells them, you tried your best and say no more about it. You did all you could. And then he continues to notice the reactions between Charity and Cloud. And he then tells Wind and Frost that of his plans of marrying Charity off to Wind. Wind, of course, is a bit surprised, and of course Conqueror explains to him that both him and his father and Wind's father, that they promised each Wind and Charity to each other.
They would get married
when they get old. Of course.
Yeah.
Lord Conqueror doesn't see any problem with this, and I think there's more to it than that.
It is. He was setting up Cloud and Wind to hate each other and probably have a fight and kill each other.
Yeah. What better way to put your daughter in the middle, which is even worse?
He used her as bait. Yeah.
Yeah. What a worse way to put your kid in the middle? I don't like that sort of thing.
Put your squid in the middle.
Anyway, so Wind approaches Charity and says that if he's happy about this idea of probably getting married and being in love with her, but he's concerned about her well-being. Does she wish to get married and do all that stuff? Of course, she cannot refuse because as the clan leader's daughter, she cannot exactly refuse her father. Isn't that right, Mike?
Somewhat.
Yes.
She can't disobey her father. Mm-hmm. End of a story.
And
you are going to marry this man.
It's clear that she loves both Wind and Cloud, and she cannot break this sort of thing up. So, anyway, Cloud gets annoyed when Conqueror tells him about this, and Conqueror sees in his eyes an expression he had 10 years ago that says that so much hate was going on in his mind when he was still a child. I guess back then and now, I think Cloud knew that Conqueror killed his parents, and he has not forgotten what he done.
No.
Anyway, so we go to another region of China, I think. I'm not sure, where a bunch of townspeople will ask a medical doctor, a herbalist, I think, to go to Conqueror and tell him that their taxes have been extremely high, and could they negotiate some terms and possibly give them time to raise the money. So anyway, they asked the herbalist to represent them in this sort of thing. So he has a special wound on his arm, which indicate that his arm is sort of from a fire beast, thing. I don't know how to explain that.
He's got something like a tattoo on his upper arm, and the his aunt seems to have a mind of its own sometimes.
It doesn't seem to want to...
Doesn't want to be part of him.
Yes. Yeah. And he acts really funny, like very possessive, like Evil Dead possessive, if you will. Anyway, if you watch The Evil Dead 2,
okay,
I recommend.
Move on with you.
So, anyway, they are heading down there, and soon enough, the wedding is in full swing. Well, not really. As the wedding day approaches, on the wedding day, they begin to prepare for the wedding itself. So they start decorating the place up, guests arrive, gifts, the usual little stuff that you often have before a wedding starts.
Yeah, another toaster, Lord.
Yeah, of course, everything's excited, and Frost even admits in one scene that he's always had feelings for Charity too, but I guess it wasn't as strong as Wind or Cloud's feelings.
Well, there you go.
Or he knows his duty, therefore he didn't bother to acknowledge any desires, if there are any desires. So, anyway, let me see. Of course, Cloud refuses to attend the wedding, and he's really pissed. You see him underneath a waterfall, screaming his lungs out, and probably freezing.
The water's cold.
Yeah, I should have mentioned this earlier, that Wind and Cloud's powers, they're sort of connected to the elements.
Yeah.
I should mention.
Yes.
Everyone's power is like either connected to something or whatever. Oh yeah, Frost's power is like using freezing. Freezes his opponents.
Yeah, things like that. Yeah.
Anyway,
he sleeps in the fridge. There you go. Right. There you go.
So anyway, Conqueror approaches his daughter and tells how much he loves her and how much she resembles her mother dearly, and her mother died when she giving birth to her, yada yada yada. Mike was saying to me not too long ago.
No, I was mistaken. Don't worry about it.
You're mistaken something with dealing with Wind.
Just go on with it. You're gonna go off on a different track altogether. Yes. Just carry on.
So anyway, he tells her how much he still loves his wife. I mean, Conqueror still loves his wife, but and over the years he had so numerous affairs and numerous concubines. While you're at it,
whatever.
Won't go into that.
Hey, it's got to be the king.
Well, Conqueror is
more like a king.
Yeah, they do have different rules over there. Back in those days. Anyway, soon enough, the unchallenged warriors from the unchallenged city arrive and demand justice and the unchallenged sword back, because they're super annoyed that their people were wiped off the face of the earth and they're the only remaining members of the town left. Anyway, they want to demand justice, and the monk I mentioned earlier, the Shaolin monk I mentioned, he's accompanied the boss's son to try to find out who were the ones responsible for doing the murder. Of course, Conqueror arrives, telling them that while this is the wedding day, therefore you cannot do an outrageous fight at the moment, because this is supposed to be a special, memorable day, not a funeral.
Oh, one wedding and two funerals? Whatever.
Anyway, the son gives him a message from Sword Saint, telling him that there's more things to fight for in this upcoming duel. So this has given them a reason to do their duel, meaning it'll give him more to fight and I guess it'll be a lot more fun as we go along. Soon enough, they start the wedding march. Da 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 da. Well, the Chinese version anyway. No, not even close. Soon enough, we see Charity wearing this beautiful red wedding gown. Beautiful.
Hey,
beautiful train, whatever. Really good. And as they're about to kneel down and prepare and start to say the wedding vows, look who comes knocking! Cloud himself, and he grabs Chastity's hand, and he quickly uses his powers, using water and spirits and whatever.
That makes a bit of a mess. Yeah.
And using it to attack some of the soldiers and Wind, and he quickly grabs Chastity's hand, and they quickly escape out of that room. And he then asks her, why did you agree to marry him? And she says, you never asked me why. And he says, I cannot bear for another man to touch you and all that stuff. And she says, I can marry him and still meet you. Oh, give me a break, people.
Okay, a bit rude.
It is rude. And it's not exactly a nice thing to say to a man you like.
Yeah, you can have me any time you like. I'll just be married to him. Okay,
that's just plain rude.
Well, they had the boat that rocked.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Oh,
that was not really a marriage. That was a stupid arrangement. Anyway, Conqueror appears along with Wind and Frost and demand that Cloud return Charity and all that stuff. Of course, Cloud says he spent 10 years in Conqueror's service, and he is planning on leaving the Conqueror clan along with Charity. Of course, Conqueror, using his words, tells Wind to fight for
your wife
and that man who stole her. So they begin to fight. We watch, and both men are fighting furiously. And soon enough, Conqueror produces an orb in his hand magically, and it's about to kill both
the guys
men
who are fighting close together.
Charity notices this, and she charges and flies into their defense and into the line of fire.
He jumps in front of her father, who at the same time releases this little orb and kills his daughter.
Yeah, of course. As Cloud's cradling her dead body, well, almost dead body, he says, "She's mine already. Get away," telling that to Wind. And Charity says sorry to Wind and even admits that she did love him, and then she crumbles and dies in Cloud's arms. Then Cloud takes her body. He actually takes her to another clan, I think, who have a special device that kind of puts inside.
Oh yeah, they had their leader died, and they had the special thingy that he had placed in his mouth, which kept his body from deteriorating.
Yeah. Cloud demands it, and he steals it, puts it in his beloved's mouth.
And it looks like she's just having a sleep.
Like she just died yesterday. Or not yesterday, today.
Snooze. Yeah.
Anyway, he then goes to the tomb that's being created.
And placed her in
there. And he also places with her 19 of those colourful stones, which he promised her, Yeah. So he puts them into her hand.
He truly loved the woman. Oh.
Just then, Conqueror appears, demanding Charity to be returned to him and all that stuff. Of course, Cloud is not...
You're not receptive.
Not receptive, of course. And he begins to fight. Of course, Conqueror tells him that he may be strong, but there might have been a few gaps in his training.
Well, he's not fully trained.
No.
A good master will teach the student everything. A bad master will withhold something or other.
Yeah, which is what Conqueror did. He withholds...
The old ace in the hole, correct. Yeah.
He withholds certain training tips to give to Cloud and Wind, as you well learned. Yes. So, anyway, they fought, and they fight... They're in the middle of the desert area, I think, and this means Cloud cannot access the water elements
to help his power.
Yeah, and while this is happening, one of his arms gets injured, and he cannot really fight. So he actually tears the limb off and using the blood within his body as liquid to fight back. Against Conqueror.
To make an opening for him to escape as well.
Yeah. Yes, he then quickly closes the tomb, and he races away. And soon enough, he arrives at a lake, and he kind of looks like he's down. It's his downfall. I mean, he's down for. But then soon enough, the herbalist and his daughter, Muse, that's her name.
She's a cutie pie, I like her.
She's very chatty, very witty, very amusing person, which is hence the term.
I like her.
Even though her name is come from something else, I won't explain. They've taken back to their home, and where we discover that he's not feeling well, and the herbalist decides to give his beast arm to...
the arm was getting more out of control, and he realised that the arm wanted to be...
connected to Cloud.
Instead of him. So said, okay.
They begin to operate by severing his arm and giving it... and putting it onto Cloud. Of course, it seems to work really well, and his powers, I guess, he's still a
bit weak.
It's still a little weak. When we watched the American version of this, they cut that part out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
and that made me wonder.
Well, what is the American? Not the American version, the English version.
Okay, the English version. It just didn't add up why his arm grew back.
Yeah, they missed a bit.
Let's say that the water grew him a new one, which I doubt.
Yeah, a bit of fertiliser.
Anyway, meanwhile, all this is happening. Wind is grieving over the fact Charity is gone from his life, and he drinks and sleeps most of the time. And Conqueror approaches him, telling him that I want you to go to this the shrine of the fire beast, so you can get the special...
this blood woody fruit.
Yeah. The fruit I mentioned and the beast that killed his father. And so he packs up his sandwiches and makes his way with a couple of Conqueror's his minions. So they make their way down there. So he makes his way down there, and there... his minions gives him some water, and while they're about to steal the blood bowie fruit, he finds...
Wind doesn't feel very good.
He finds the amulet that belonged to his father, his dead father, and he then finds the sword, what's it called? The blazing sword?
The blizzard sword.
Blizzard sword. And he decides to take his revenge on the fire beast. But when he's about to exact his revenge on the creature, he starts to fall down and crumble to the ground. And we find out that he was poisoned by the water. And the minions tell him that they use the same poison that they poisoned from the people in Unchallenged City. And so... they are told by their Lord Conqueror to bring back his head, and you'll be rewarded, along with the special fruit, obviously. Of course, the fire beast appears and starts dragging the minions around and eats them. And of course, Wynn was able to grab some of the fruit, and somehow his powers and his health get returned to him. And he begins to fight the fire beast, and he wins, and really well.
Yep. Anyway,
yeah. So he then takes more of the fruit back with him, and then we cross back to Conqueror's clan, where he's actually his Trinity strength, which he has become really strong. He's been practicing, so he's going. Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing, but he got stronger.
Yeah. Anyway, he then tells Frost that now that he's going to be challenging the dueling with Sword Saint, and if he wins, he'll probably rule the world, and he's going to pass on his duties as a leader to Frost when he's done. So Frost is kind of pleased. He's the last of the minions, and he tells and Conqueror tells him to go and kill Jester. I don't know why, but it sounds good to me.
Jester's all pain in the ass anyway.
Yeah, Jester. He hides and he mimics a soldier as he walks. But Frost is not fooled by this, and Jester tells him about how Conqueror has killed both Wind and Cloud's parents and has lied to everyone. And he even tells him that Mud Buddha has been placed in prison, so he's been there for all this quite a while. So Frost asks him to take him to Mud Buddha, and there he realized that the man that secretly took Mud Buddha from a while back, a few days ago, was actually Lord Conqueror in disguise. Right? You were correct. It was him, after all.
Just gut feeling, Yeah.
Anyway,
these things go, same, different script, different day,
Yes. So, anyway, the day of the duel arrives. everyone is there. All the clans, I guess, and the unchallenged members are there too, along with the monk, obviously. And soon enough, we see Sword Saint in his mighty glory. Not really. He's actually an old man. He's
pretty damn good for an old man. When Yoda was old, he was 700 years old.
He walks really slowly. Yeah. He keeps saying he must go on. He must go on because he doesn't want to die here or something like that. It's because he's... Anyway, soon enough, he arrives at the entrance and he's blazing with power. Wait a minute.
We see him walking the steps, the first couple of steps. And he stands there, and all of a sudden we see him coming into the temple. He's actually something like astral travelling, but more so. He's teleporting himself, creating an image of himself.
Yeah.
A solid image, mind you.
Yeah. Muse and Cloud arrive. Muse has come with Cloud. I don't know why, but she does. And they see Sword Saint perched on those very steps. And Cloud decides to take an investigate. He sees him there. He's just in meditating mode, whatever. Anyway, the one inside, the astro projected version of Sword Saint is, as he's approaching the Conqueror, Conqueror's got the unchallenged sword in his hand, and he drops it. And I think it's because Sword Saint is much more powerful. Yeah. Anyway, he approaches his opponent. All the soldiers and clans start rushing at him, but then he somehow freezes in time. I think that's the best word to describe this thing.
Frozen where they stand apart from Conqueror and Sword Saint. Yeah.
He approaches and he takes his hand and stabs him through the chest. Of course, all the time. Conqueror is feeling this and feeling a lot of pain.
He's not feeling very good.
And meanwhile, outside, Cloud is examining the body, the Sword Saint outside, and Muse approaches him and says he looks pretty dead. Why is he not moving? She touches Sword Saint in the chest,
and then
the body.
The spell breaks.
Yeah, the body there and the one in Astral Projected both disappear.
Yep.
And
Conqueror sort of wins
by default.
Yeah.
As I said.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cloud heads up the stairs, leaving Muse feeling like, oh my gosh, I must have killed a man, even though we didn't do. We just
touched him. He fell apart.
Anyway, Conqueror, all the other people in the clans are either passed out or dead. It's hard to tell because at this point,
I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
They look like
they could be dead.
Because when Sword Saint passed away, a lot of the spirits around them either kind of came out.
Like an Indiana Jones experience.
Yeah, it makes me think of Raiders of the Lost Ark in that scene.
Yeah, they could all be dead, yes.
Some of them, or maybe some of them are passed out. I don't know, it's hard to tell in this movie.
Whatever.
Anyway, Conqueror declares him that he's now the conqueror of the world. And he says that now I'm the best. And then Frost approaches him, telling him that you murdered your two disciples' parents, and you're a murderer and stuff like that. And he says to him that he's done with this and he wants to leave. Of course, outside, Wind approaches Cloud. He's actually met by Mud Buddha earlier, and he hears the prophecy about Wind and Cloud becoming a storm.
Together.
Yeah. And so they need to be together in order to defeat Conqueror. So Wind hands Cloud some the fruit and tells him that this will make your chi stronger.
Yeah. So he gobbled some up.
Well, he doesn't gobble them up. He just holds them, and then they head inside.
He would have eaten it on the way through.
Yeah. Anyway, they then approach Conqueror and see Frost's dead, limp body.
Yeah.
After he tried to challenge Conqueror but lost and dies.
He didn't challenge him. He said, I'm going, see you later. So Conqueror just threw one of those orbs at him or something.
Yeah, several of them. Until Frost fell down dead. Anyway, soon enough, Conqueror sees his two old Frost and Cloud and tells them that someone has been disobeying my orders for not killing you. Of course.
Yeah, you can't get good help, can you, guys?
Of course, Cloud says, at last, now I can take my revenge on my for my dead family or stuff.
Blah, blah, blah.
And Conqueror was prepared for this. So Cloud quickly clutches the bowie into his hand, and somehow, magically, it begins to absorb into his arm, the new arm, I should mention.
Oh, yes, right, yeah. It's right,
and I guess the arm and him are now really become strong. And they begin fighting Conqueror. And so you guys know, Wind brought with him his dad's sword, so he actually did some damage to Conqueror's throne, and Conqueror quickly hides away, and he quickly makes his way to the final, fighting scene, where it takes place in the sword grave. Oh, before Wind goes down there, the monk, Shaolin monk, I should mention, he didn't get killed or anything. His boss did, obviously, but he approaches Wind, telling him, "Take heed. You have great power, but you must not use it all
at once,
because you don't want to, because that will cause consequences if you do."
So use as much as you need, but not all of it.
Yes. Yeah. So Wind quickly heads down to the sword grave too, and they make their final stand against Conqueror. Of course, Conqueror is already one step ahead of both men, because he did tell them that while he taught them very well, he might have left out a few gaps in there, withhold a few things in their training.
He never taught them anything about sword play, and they're pretty damn good at it, aren't they?
Yeah. Anyway, soon enough, he drains their energy and their strength. In one of the scene, and he then breaks open a rock which contains a powerful sword, and he tells them, "While I've trained you in kicks and fists, why I didn't train you in the sword fighting, which is my biggest aptitude to him, as in his biggest skill." But as he starts attacking with the sword, both men kind of are weak, and Cloud's blood begins to seep into the dirt, and we get a flashback to when his dad's last moments as he's about to get killed. Yeah. He tells them about how the unlimited sword will not belong to the ultimate sword will not belong to Conqueror, and while they may need his blood, they also need his son's blood in order to maintain it.
His family's blood, to activate the power of the sword.
Yeah, the sword appears coming out of the sword grave. We see, and then all the energies, like lots of spirit and power, start flowing into it. Along with Wind's father's sword starts flowing some bit of magic too. And then both men grab for the swords, and they grab hold of each of their hands, and they make their final stand against Conqueror by uniting their power and stuff.
And guess what?
And they start fighting Conqueror, and soon enough, they have it, kind of won against him. And of course, Conqueror, he's left as half a shell of what he used to be.
And crazy.
Yeah, he starts seeing all the spirits of the people he killed.
And everything.
Yeah. He even sees his daughter who's pleading for her father. And soon enough, he starts growing crackers, and when Cloud's about to attack him, Wind approaches and deflects his blow, and tells him that while he did raise them, and it's not right to kill him.
No, he said the other way around.
Yes.
He said that he did tell him, "Don't kill him. He raised us." Mm-hmm. So he acknowledged the fact that he did raise them, but he's already crazy and he won't harm anybody now.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in killing him now because he's already being tormented anyway.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, so both men, they leave the Conqueror's clan, what's left of it, because it's already destroyed.
Well, people are dead all over the place and stuff.
Yeah. Both men head outside, they lock eyes. Then we cut to the credits. Fade out. Whatever.
Well, there you go. Wasn't
so
that fun?
At this point,
riveting, wasn't it?
Conqueror is he's now lost everything, and along
with his marbles.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think, in this opinion, that while he was trying to gain the whole, try to rule the world or something like that, he says he's going to rule the world, but I don't think so in my mind.
Yeah, another megalomaniac.
Anyway, he's like a tyrant, like all those other tyrants before him. And coming after him. Go on, Mike.
I was going to say... Ribbit. No, there's not a lot to say. I don't know anything about the production, etc. Where it's filmed, probably in Hong Kong somewhere.
I gotta admit, there were some really good places they shoot this in.
It looks great. Yeah, the sets, everything's good about them. Look, if you like this sort of stuff, this Asian sort of martial arts fancy, it's not bad. Mm-hmm. You know, it's pretty damn good. I mean, it's a shame that these sort of movies don't get a chance to go around the world because they normally stay in their own country. And
if it's a famous, if it was a famous Asian person like Jackie Chan or Jet Li, it would get the acknowledgement it would really need.
And it would have been in English.
And it would be in English, and people would enjoy it, and stuff like that.
Well, no, it would have gone around the world a bit better. But when they have it in their own language and then just do some dubbing and stuff, more often than not, it stays in their own country. Now, having said that, it was split up for lots and lots of awards and won some, but they are Asian awards, not worldwide awards, from what I can see. So, but they did like it. But like I said before, the box office didn't show it. But I'd like to think that the home media side, VHS tapes, DVDs, and everything, has actually made up for it over the years, because they did make the sequel. That would indicate they might have made some money somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and they brought back the original actors.
Yeah, so you'd like to think so.
And then they made an animation, which I'm not sure if it was an animation series or just a special movie. So
I can't say anything about reception. I can't find anything about what anyone thinks about it. So I have to leave it a bit short on that. So let's roll into availability.
Right.
Be careful. An old movie, there might be VHS copies around, okay? eBay, plenty for sale. Most are in Chinese with English subtitles. There are English dubbed versions available if you go keep your eyes open when you're searching. So Amazon only has rentals, mainly rentals, but there might be one or two available, but they're just one here and one there. So other sites might have some. You might be able to stream it. Whatever. It's a good look. I would personally go for the Chinese version of the English dub because it's longer and it's the full story.
Yeah, and it gives you more insight into the characters' lives a little bit more, like their backstory, stuff like that. And not just a cheap, he goes out and kills the parents. We don't know enough about them. And the ultimate sword, which they didn't mention in the English dub one, was never mentioned, obviously, because... While they did mention in passing, it would have been nice to give a big picture into how does the ultimate sword connect to, Cloud's family.
All that good stuff.
Stuff like that.
So anyway, I hate reading subtitles.
Me too.
Because I got bad eyes, okay? It's not a case I just hate reading subtitles. I find it hard to read the subtitles and watch the action at the same time. However,
it takes a lot of practice.
However, the subtitles on this were easy to read, I find. Some are small, a lower case, a bit thin, they blend into the scenery too much. I can actually read the subtitles on this one, which made it a lot more of a pleasurable experience for me. So, I really enjoyed this movie and what it was doing. So, I was really happy for a change to be able to read something.
One day I might look at Forbidden Kingdom. One day I might...
But that's a Jackie Chan, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a Jackie and Jet Li. As in, we have two professional martial artists in the production.
Whoa,
don't know if they got along, but they probably did really well.
I happen to like Jackie Chan and Jet Li.
And I think the movie made its way over here and became English, and it was, of course, English dubbed and stuff like that.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
But then again, they did have a West American character in it, obviously, because that would make a little bit more sense out of it. And not to mention, Jackie is good at English. Well, I would say good in English.
Actually, quite funny. Jackie Chan does not speak really good English, but he learns English for his roles, I gather.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
he does quite good.
I guess a little bit of practice goes a long way.
Anyway, I didn't say the grade, was I? I'm going to give it a 9.
No, we didn't.
I'm going to give it a 9.
I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10 myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the special effects, love the costuming, love the fact it has a fantasy thing, and I love it that it's based off a book, obviously. I did think some of the animation was a bit, not...
Animation?
I mean, special effects was even needed a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Some of it, not all of it. There was some stuff that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I did like the fact that it had a good fantasy mix to the story, and I thought it was a good storytelling.
Yeah, I think it was a good story, and everything was good about it. But but a 9's good for me. Yeah, so
yes.
Anyway, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't think of anything else to say without going over stuff I've already done and boring the people.
I do like the one thing I like about manga and the stuff like that that's based off it. I do like the traditional dress they wear sometimes.
Well, actually, that's one thing I do like. Yeah, when you go back, some of these, especially the time jump ones, which we've done a few of those. Go back in time, that it gives a really nice feel for the way things were. I know it's not real, it's not historical, but it does give you a feel about the ancient times in China and Japan, and in this case Hong Kong and different things. So, it's.
But you got to admit, it is interesting that how they bring that into modern day manga. Sometimes while the story's based, in the present time era, they would often still bring a little bit of traditional dress in that, even though the traditional styles have gone out, and because people prefer Western clothing, prefer modern day clothing to the years ago stuff.
Opted out to wear Western clothing, but they still will, for ceremonial reasons, still wear their traditional robes.
Some
and
do.
Yeah.
Some do.
Mm.
Some do.
Anyway, irrespective, we are digressing.
I'm sorry. It's just that it's interesting that this stuff comes up in anime or manga. It's really interesting, and I like that. It makes me envious about the style they wore back in the olden days, where wearing many layers of kimonos and looking stylish,
Big bow on the back and stuff.
And
knitting needle stuck in your head.
And the festivals and the traditions, even though some of the traditions have a painful side when you think about it.
And young women obey their fathers. That doesn't happen anymore, does it?
Can't bear the fact that...
You don't.
Of course not. Why would I want to obey you?
Oh, there you go. Then.
Anyway, that's about it for us, guys. Before I forget, be sure to check out the... I think I probably already mentioned this already, but... Well, actually, we've already checked out the supernova that's already come up. So if you guys see any photos of it previously, be sure to check them out and all that stuff. So, anyway, thanks for listening to our latest podcast, everyone. This is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
Saying see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. So, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening to us. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.